How's it going? It's that nerd Ryan here, and today we are talking about Star Wars Obi Wan Kenobi. That's right. I was so excited for this show, and I gotta say, it did not disappoint. I am gonna do a cut because I forgot to watch my 5 last minute Kenobi theories to see, because I think I got some right, but I can't remember. So I will do a cut at the end. First few minutes is going to be spoiler free, and then we'll get into spoilers and stuff like that. But this was a phenomenal show from start to finish. Great characters. There was some stuff that at first I was kind of... TV just turned itself back on. There's some stuff at first that I kind of felt like a little uncomfortable, and I thought about it, and then I realized they're kind of harkening back to A New Hope. We'll talk about that in a second. But, I mean, this show, just great writing. Honestly, great characters, no matter what anybody says. And just really, really, really good storyline. And it actually completely took away my expectations. I thought this was going to be revolving around Luke, and I was completely wrong. But again, we'll talk about that after spoilers, because I mean, that was a big shock to me, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys, if you get what I mean. So, each episode was great. I was excited for everyone. I actually stayed up till 3 in the morning for the first episode to come out. And I watched it, and then I go, I'm gonna probably start the first and second episode. I ended up getting halfway through the first 2 episodes, or the second episode. And, I mean, that was a busy night, because Shorzy came out that day, too. And tonight's a busy night, because Kenobi, Miss Marvel, and Umbrella Academy. Anyways, it was just very enjoyable, very great experience. I know, like, I say this, like, a lot, but, like, I really mean it with this, is this felt the most Star Wars to me. The Mandalorian feels like Star Wars, Book of Boba Fett does, but this, like, harkens down to what Star Wars is about. And it's just great. There's very big emotional parts in almost every episode. I was choking up in the finale, and then I rewatched the parts that I was choking up in, and I still choked up. And I mean, there's just great big great emotion through this show. So, I'm going to give my ranking, and then we'll get into spoilers. So, I'm going to give this series a 9 out of 10. It was so phenomenal and so amazing. I just really, really enjoyed every bit of it. So let's get into it. Let's talk about episode 1 first. So a friend of mine did point out this, and it's very interesting, is each episode is tied in to the respective episode of the original saga. So episode 1, it's kind of too easy, but we start out on Tatooine. And so Tatooine, we go to Tatooine, blah, blah, blah. But just, we get to see Obi-Wan on his day-to-day life. There's another Jedi there that the Inquisitors track down, and they get this close to finding Obi-Wan. We're introduced to the third sister, aka Reva, who for some reason seems like she has a vendetta against Obi-Wan, is obsessive over him. We find out later why. And we actually, I just shouldn't say we open up on Tatooine. We open up on Coruscant to what seems to be a group of younglings just getting ambushed by clones during Order 66. That plays in later. But, yeah, so then we go to Tatooine and we see Obi-Wan's day-to-day life, or should I say Ben's. And we kind of see, like, the first day, and then with the Inquisitors showing up and everything, and Obi-Wan kind of tells the the wandering Jedi that is getting tracked by the Inquisitors, that he needs to just give up and go home and bury his lightsaber. And then we cut to Alderaan, which I did not expect. I remember, like, I wish I filmed a reaction, but again, 3 in the morning, and I'm like, oh my god, we're at Alderaan? Oh my god. And, like, just freaking out because I knew what that meant. And we're introduced to young Leia, which the actress that played young Leia, oh my god, she is perfect. There's moments where you feel like it's a kid Carrie Fisher. And, like, just how she is and everything, she's Leia to a T in this. And it's perfect casting, unbelievable. Like, I am convinced that this is a young Carrie Fisher, because she was so spot on everything. And it was like, there was a part at the end of the show where she's talking to Obi Wan, and she says, I forgot what she says, but oh yeah, he goes, what do you think I should do next? She goes, sleep. And, like, I literally said, I go, that is such a Carrie Fisher thing to say. And it, like, there's, like, it's not even like you see original trilogy Leia in her, you see the sequel trilogy Leia in her, you see Padme in her, you see Anakin in her. It's perfect embodiment of Leia at a 10-year-old age, which is great. And the kid that played Luke, he wasn't in it a lot. I don't even think he had a speaking line, maybe one. But he did a good job too of being Luke. But like I said, I think he only had one speaking line in this. And, like, I went in this thinking that it was going to be him interacting with Luke, and it was him interacting with Leia. And best combination ever is all I have to say. So basically, Leia gets kidnapped, and Bail recruits Obi-Wan to save Leia. The kidnappers were hired by Reva to draw him out so that she can bring him to Vader, because she knows that Vader's Anakin. Obi-Wan finds out, and that was, like, the first, like, heartbreaking moment for me. And, like, just, like, him realizing, oh my god, I still failed. He's still out there, and everything like that. And the first time he sees Vader, which is the next episode, episode 2, we see a clone trooper. Connection to Attack of the Clones, which is pretty cool. We see a clone trooper that's, like, basically a disabled veteran that was left behind by the Empire. I just noticed my hair is kind of curling up. But yeah, so then we get to episode 3, where Vader and Obi-Wan first meet and fight. And so Vader was vocoded in this. He was not... James Earl Jones didn't do the voice. It was AI doing James Earl Jones' voice. But somehow there was moments with it where it was kind of jumpy, I want to say, where it kind of felt weird. But one of the greatest delivered lines, which it still felt jumpy because it kind of, like, did a weird pause, but, like, you can tell there's so much rage behind it that it feels fine. And Obi-Wan goes, what happened to you? Or what became of you? Or something like that. And Vader goes, I am what you made me. And, I mean, like, just talking about that, I'm getting chills. Just that whole thing in the fight. And Obi-Wan ends up losing this fight and is dragged through fire because Anakin wants revenge, or Vader wants revenge, I'm sorry. And, like, that's the callback to Revenge of the Sith, is getting lit on fire and everything. And actually, Obi-Wan's screaming sounds exactly like Anakin's screams. So during this, Leia gets re-abducted by Reva and brought to the Fortress Inquisitorius. So the next episode is Obi-Wan saving her from the Fortress Inquisitorius, which it reminds me of the Phineas and Ferb line of, if I had a nickel for every time this happened, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's kind of weird that it happened twice. Because it's like, yeah, 5 years ago, You had Cal Kestis break into the Fortress Inquisitorius and nearly wreck it. And this one, literally the same thing happened again, which I found very funny. Um, and they save Leia and get out of there. And Vader almost kills Reva at that point. And we find out that she put a tracker on Leia's droid Lula. And that's how they're going to find him. So they go to the next episode where they go to Jabim, I think it is. I could be wrong. And are where there's a bunch of refugees from the Empire who like have some sort of connection with Force users. Either some of them are Force users, or Ice Cube's son was in there. He was married to a Force user that was murdered, like stuff like that. So what happens is Reva comes down with Purge troopers, stormtroopers, everything, and Vader's right behind. But how episode 5 opens is with a flashback. And the flashback to end all flashbacks. Episode 2 era Anakin and Obi-Wan dueling, like practice dueling and everything. And that's intercut throughout the entire episode. And we also find out that Reva was one of the younglings that we opened on. And she was mortally injured by Darth Vader, which shows that she wasn't obsessed with Obi-Wan, but she was trying to find a way to get revenge for her friends on Vader. So her plan was to eventually kill him. Which, funny enough, we see the first 4 episodes, people freaking out about Reva and how she's a terrible character and blah, blah, blah. I always enjoyed her as a character. I never thought she was a terrible character. I thought she was basically a new kind of Anakin. Not saying like she's the new Anakin, but like she was brash and everything and focused on revenge and stuff like that. So I was like, that's a great motive, because it's not something we kind of saw that with the second sister, but this was on a bigger scale. But we couldn't figure out why she hated Obi-Wan. I actually posted a theory on Twitter the week before, or the day before episode 5 came out. And we'll talk about that. That'll be my 6th last minute theory. But basically, she ends up trying to kill Vader and of course fails. But also with that, we get Vader doing a Star Killer moment of pulling a ship with the Force just down to the ground and decimating the ship. And people were complaining that, so what happens is the ship gets pulled down and then it turns out there's another ship that flies away. And people were saying you don't see the other ship. I watched the scene like 10 times. You can see a shadow of another ship behind it. It's kind of dusty and everything, but yeah, you can see it. So it's not Rise of Skywalker plot twist wise. But yeah, and then we get to episode 6 where Reva finds out that Luke is Vader's son and goes to Tatooine to try to kill Luke. And then we have the final battle between Vader and Obi-Wan. And oh my god, I'm still recovering from this fight emotionally because it's a very cool fight. It's not as good as Battle of Mustafar in my opinion, but it's a close second. Close third place because Duel of Fates is the first. But we get Obi-Wan almost failing and getting crushed by rocks. And we kind of see that moment of him gaining back the Force where he's mentally, all he's thinking about is everything that he failed with Anakin. Like we hear him yelling, "I hate you." We hear, "This is why you lose. I am what you made me." All this. And then all of a sudden there's like a flick of the switch. And he thinks of Leia and Luke and everything. And that's when he finally comes back and he fights Vader. And he does something that, like, I always thought, why don't people do this? he uses his hilt to bash in Vader's life support system, and then he cuts at his back, and then cuts through the mask, and that's where Obi-Wan breaks. And I watched this fight twice, and I think right when the mask breaks, it's Anakin, because I don't see yellow in the eyes, I see his regular eyes, and Obi-Wan notices that it's still Anakin, and he's almost in tears. I was almost in tears. And he apologizes for everything. And Vader says, "I'm not your biggest failure." And it felt kind of weird. It felt like Anakin was saying, like, he forgave him, in a sense. But he goes, and you kind of see him, like, smirk through the mask, and he goes, "You did not kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. Just like I'm going to destroy you." And Obi-Wan's response to that was, "Well, then my best friend is already dead," and he leaves him again. And we end that fight there. We go back to the whole Reva thing. She's about to kill Luke, and she sees herself in Luke and stops. And that's when she's redeemed. And she comes back, and Obi-Wan forgives her, tells her that she is avenging her friends by not turning into Anakin. And I like to see where this character goes, honestly, because it's like, how do you redeem yourself from that? Because we never get to see that in Star Wars. These characters that are so evil and then turn good get killed right away. That happened with Kylo Ren, that happened with Darth Vader. I'd like to see what would happen with Reva. So I do hope that rumored Reva show is coming, or Season 2 of Kenobi. Well, we'll talk about Season 2 of Kenobi. I have mixed feelings about that, but we'll talk about that in a second. And we get a little reunion with Leia and Obi-Wan, which we talked about. And then he goes back to Tatooine, and he meets Luke, and what is the first thing he says? "Hello there." And we don't get to see the full conversation, but we get to hear that line. And then we see him traveling off, and Qui-Gon shows up, which they hinted at through the entire series, but Qui-Gon shows up. And that's how the series ends. Now, really quick, before we cut this and I watch my thing and then we talk about that, but I don't want there to be a Season 2. I felt like the story was perfect the way it is, and it shouldn't continue on. But at the same time, I would like to see a continuation of the characters that we were introduced to, and stuff like that. That would be very cool. I kind of skipped over a lot of stuff on this, so I suggest you watch the show yourself. But yeah, so I'm going to watch my theory video, and then we'll get back, and I'll say which ones I was right with and I was wrong. We'll say my tweet theory was incorrect. I was said that Reva was Obi-Wan's new apprentice, but he left her behind to fight Grievous, and that's why she had such a hate for him, and I was completely wrong. But yeah, so let me watch the other theories really quick, and then we'll talk about that. Alright, so I watched it, and one, I really hated the whatever this is called. I'm trying to float over it so I get a name. Multicam capture light. OBS is so much better. Anyways, so I actually had 6 theories on there, so there's 7 theories in total. The Twitter one was completely wrong, which, by the way, follow me on Twitter. I only got like 11 followers. I'd like to grow it. Next, we had the Vader Theory, which there's 2 prongs to it. One, I was half right. The other, I was completely wrong. First prong was that the final battle, or the rematch, would take place in the final episode, but we wouldn't see a battle between them midway through the show, which we did, but we still saw the final battle on the final episode, and I thought it would be on Mustafar. It wasn't on Mustafar. It was on some unnamed planet, as far as I know. Next, we had where it was if Anakin, or if we would get a flashback of Anakin during the Clone Wars, which we I would consider Clone Wars era, we did get to see a flashback scene of the two of them during the Clone Wars. The other one was if we would be seeing, what was it? Oh yeah, how many Inquisitors would be in the show. Said that would be the most that we've seen. It actually is tied for Rebels, where technically I said in movie format or television format or whatever, because technically the Darth Vader comic has that by a long shot, because I think we see literally every Inquisitor, but it's tied for Rebels. They both had 4 Inquisitors on it. The next one was that we get to see Owen do some action scenes, and we got to see him fight Reva. So yeah, that one was correct. The next one was a crazy theory that we were going to see on Aaron Regg's Han Solo. Did not happen. I knew that one wasn't going to happen. And then the last one was that we'd see Qui-Gon Jinn's Force Ghost, which was correct. So I did pretty good on this. I only got 2 wrong out of the 7. Well, 2.5. 3.5. But yeah, that's half. I got half of them right. I'm getting better at these theories, guys. We'll only find out when Miss Marvel comes out and Finish is coming out and I got all of them wrong or something. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and follow me on all my social media down below. It's that nerd Ryan telling you, have an amazing day.